Hi, it's Andy, and I'm here with my winter reading wrap-up. So these are the books that I read in January and February, and honestly, it's a pretty slim stack right now. I don't know what my deal was. I just barely did any reading at all. I spent the entire month of January on one book, so it's gonna be a pretty short video. That book I spent so long reading was The Coldest Girl in Coldtown by Holly Black, and this book was really fun. I'm not sure why it took me so long to read. It is a bit longer, but I don't know, it was just really slow for me for some reason. Ultimately, this book was really fun. I thought Holly Black's take on vampires was so cool, and it was just very interesting and refreshing and unique. My only complaint was that the side characters and the subplots were so well developed that it ended up taking away from the main storyline. This book has chapters narrated by different people, and I thought the chapters narrated by Pearl were just really unnecessary. I didn't really care about her as a character, and I would have much rather had the time be spent developing the main plot, which to me ended up being a little lacking. But like I said, the take on vampires was so amazing, and the cold towns were just so interesting and felt so real that I still ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5 stars. Next up was Stars Above. This is a collection of short stories that accompany the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. And this was absolutely freaking amazing. Oh my god. Most of what people have been talking about this is The Wedding, which was an amazing short story. I'm not going to say anything about it because I don't want to spoil, so just know it's good. But my favorite short story was actually The Keeper, where we get to see some information about Michelle Bennett and what her life was like. I felt like she was such an important character in the series, even though we really never got to know her. Basically, if you liked the Lunar Chronicles, you're guaranteed to like this. It's just more content, more awesomeness, and you should just read it. You just need to read it. It's so good. In February, I finally had the chance to read Volume 2 of Rat Queens, which was even better than the first one. I can't really talk about the story happening in Volume 2 without giving a lot of stuff away, but I will just do a little bit of a warning. This one got a lot more violent than the first one ever did, so if you were feeling a little hesitant during the first volume, just keep that in mind before picking it up. But the story is getting so good, so I hope that doesn't turn you away or make you not want to read it. I am not someone who likes violent stories, and I still found this really good, so you should be able to handle it, just be aware. This volume was just able to do a lot of cool stuff because it didn't have to be sort of weighed down by the introductory information we were given in Volume 1, so I'm really excited to continue with this series. Also, Volume 2 was done by Curtis J. Webb, Rock Upchurch, and Stefan Sajic. Probably not saying that right. Apologies. Just general apologies. I'm always gonna butcher people's names, and sorry. One last thing I want to mention about Rat Queens. This volume starts developing a lot of really great romantic plot lines, and I'm so attached to a certain orc and dwarf, and I just, it was so good. I love it. Also in comics, I read volumes 2 and 3 of Miss Marvel. Both of them were awesome. If you're not reading this series yet, I honestly don't know what you're doing with your life. Like, it's so good. Just read it! So Volume 2, Generation Y, really starts developing just the plot line, and we're getting a better grasp on who the villain is and what Miss Marvel's journey as a whole is gonna look like. And she's really just starting to like learn more and embrace her powers, and it was super, super fun. Then Volume 3 came along and just kicked so much ass I didn't know what to do. I mean, I was already giving this 5 out of 5 stars, and now I need like a higher rating than perfect because it's so good. Volume 3 addressed the issues of victim blaming. It dealt with how the friend zone is stupid and not a real thing. It had tons of conflicts with, you know, who you are as defined by your race and your society and your family. And if you buy the trade paperback, the last comic in here is actually an issue of S.H.I.E.L.D., where Gemma Simmons, who's my favorite character on the TV show S.H.I.E.L.D., makes an appearance and has a little team up with Miss Marvel. The team of people working on Miss Marvel right now is huge. Here we have written by G. Willow Wilson with Mark Waid and illustrated by Takeshi Miyazawa and Elmo Bondoc with Humberto Ramos. I honestly want to just go and pick up like anything written by this team now because Miss Marvel has given me such faith that anything they're putting out is gonna be good. And last but certainly certainly not least, I have a little book of poetry. This is the Essential Etheridge Night. It's just a collection of almost all of his poetry, especially his biggest pieces. I was especially excited to pick this up because February is, of course, Black History Month, so it's only fitting that I find at least one author of color to read. This poetry is definitely dark. If you're someone who thinks of poetry as like love poems and flowers and rhymes, then this is not so much for you. But if you like the really nitty-gritty kind of poetry where they mess with punctuation and stuff, this is perfect for you. Now, I'm also using this book as my Read an Author of Another Race for my 2016 reading challenge, and Stars Above for my reading challenge is a collection of short stories, so I'm officially on track. And there you have it. That was my winter reading wrap-up. I'll be back in May doing a spring reading wrap-up, and in between I'm sure I'll be posting lots of videos as well. Also, I do have a Goodreads page. I just thought I'd mention that. I'll put a link in the description, but it's also just a clickable link on my channel. So if you want to follow me there, recommend books, talk about stuff, please do, and I'll see you next time. Bye!